Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ocean Baiha, but if that's too much of a tongue twister, then you can call me Ocean B. So, I don't know if you can tell by the title of this video. I think I'm going to name it, What Am I Living For? So, today's topic of discussion is, what am I living for? Not in some negative perspective, more so like, what's the purpose of life? I think it's like sometimes like a scary question to ask, which is, what is the purpose of life? How could it be defined? I think the question in itself can be kind of destabilizing, because it's like, why ask that person this question, or why even question it in the first place? Because it's kind of like sitting with the existential question of, what is a human being's purpose? Like, what are we here for? Without getting that far, because again, those are concepts that, don't get me wrong, I would love to tackle and discuss, but I think there's a trajectory to things, and before we get that far beyond, I think we could just talk about it superficially a little bit more in terms of what it means to have a purpose of one's own life, rather than the humankind's purpose, but the individual's purpose. Even though I don't think that this life is limited to the individual, it's definitely far beyond simply my own capacities and other people's capacities. And so I would definitely have to say, no, I wouldn't say that it's just my individual purpose or reason for living, but more so, what is the humankind's individual purpose and reason for living? But I promise you, one of these days, if you keep up with this channel, you will hear my answer to that question. So I keep looking at that because I'm just trying to make sure that my audio is recording and that you guys will be able to have this audio. It's all right. You learn and you try again. Like I said in the last video, this is going to be a channel of Ocean discovering and figuring it out, kind of like embracing that. I'm not really a go with the flow kind of person, and so this is going to be interesting. Okay, off topic. I'm so off topic. On to the topic. What am I living for? From an intrinsic level of the individual, I would have to say that, well, before I even speak of myself, how would I define such a question or label such a question? Because what does a person say when they're asked, what are you living for? Is there a specific answer that should be given, or is it open-ended? Could it be a variety of answers? For example, some people's reason for living is to become rich and make a lot of money for the sake of it. It's just like, well, I want this and I want that, and that definitely sits a lot in this materialistic reality that, again, another topic for another day. I'm really trying to learn to stay on one topic and focus and stick on it, because it's very easy to branch into other things. As I mentioned in the last video, everything is connected, right? So I think this materialistic reality of thinking that you must become rich, yes, I would say, like, some people would think that that's what you should be living for, living to make money, right? And then the argument could be that, is it good or is it bad? Whether the question is good or bad, that's a different question. But if we must focus on this, we're saying that, does it have value to work for money and live for money? Because you could argue that you need money in this world, and life is just getting more and more expensive. And then you can ask yourself, why is it getting more expensive? But we're not going to go there. Guys, bear with me. Eventually, I will get to a point where I don't need to keep referencing elsewhere. But for now, as I said, we are just discovering this and figuring it out. So living for money, some people will say we need money, and life is getting way more expensive. And to have a decent quality life, you need to make a lot of money to have a good life. Some people would argue then that all of these materialistic things required to feel fulfillment. I would definitely, on my perspective on the matter, my understanding of the world, it's not always necessary. Sometimes if it fulfills like a bigger purpose that is far beyond the material itself, as in like it benefits the growth of the individual, then sometimes that material reality is important, and because it does have its benefits. Like, even for myself, I don't like to consider myself material, and at times I can be material, as many people, even unintentionally. But I would definitely say that there are times where that material reality does benefit in some sense. There's no reason to invite more struggle than you need to, even though we do understand that some struggle allows for growth. I will tackle that subject another time, but I would definitely say that material can help a bigger purpose. Material can help individual growth in terms of sometimes more resources allows you to have more access to exploration and understanding and familiarity. And in that sense, material reality is a little bit important. I like to think about what I want to offer my kids and want to offer even myself in terms of not necessarily about living a lavish lifestyle, but having a lifestyle of fulfillment in the sense where I am being pushed or taken care of to my best potential. And that doesn't mean having luxury cars, and that doesn't mean having $100 nails every week or anything like that. But it definitely stems from a place of, am I comfortable? Can I afford what I need? Some people will say, yeah, that's what I'm living for. I'm living to have that material reality, but it depends how far it goes. And then you could argue whether or not it's okay or it's not okay. Now, to proceed, if I must continue, my audio is still working. Good, we're doing good. There is some people who dedicate themselves to help other people, which is more than honorable, I would say, and who understand that there's people who are struggling and who have a really, really hard time making it in this world, finding joy in this world, being fulfilled in this world, just because they simply don't even have the basic needs met, right? And there's a difference between someone who doesn't find fulfillment and just keeps wanting more, and another person who can't find fulfillment, because it's really hard to find fulfillment when you can't even meet your basic needs. And that basic needs encompass a lot of things, including physiological needs, meaning food and water and shelter, and mental needs. We are social creatures who need to be nurtured the right way. If not, then the development of the brain will probably deteriorate a little bit, and not deteriorate as in you lose intelligence or you are incapable of doing things, but more so the health of your brain will change and be altered because of simple experiences. And that's quite unfortunate, right? And to have people in this world who dedicate themselves for that, I support them a lot, who understand that it's a little bit more complex than the monetary value. I think you can see a little bit where I sit. I'm a little bit biased, just a little bit, but there's people who are doing that. And then there's people who do it for validation, which is like, I want to be the best at this specific thing for the sake of being the best. Like, I want people to remember my name as that person who did that thing. That is validation. You are seeking validation. If you just want to be the best for the sake of being the best so that people knew you as the best, then it's kind of, you're just doing it for the validation of others, which is a little bit silly if you think about it, just because when you pass, are you guaranteed to be able to enjoy that praise that people will be giving you? Are you being fulfilled with the fact that the difference that you made could allow for a better tomorrow? In that case, that is totally different. That is no longer for the sake of validation, that is for the sake of others. And you can still have a fulfilling life for yourself while still living your life to better other people. That is, that's a deeper question. If anyone wants to sit and talk about with me, I would love to go into, but right now we're talking about what I think we're living for. And then there's just some people who are just living just because, like, I'm on this earth, and I mean, that's a valid reason, is it not? Right? Like, I was born, and now I'm alive, and now I need to live. So people live, right? That is people's reasoning. And believe it or not, like, to some people, this is gonna sound silly and ridiculous, and it's like, what is she talking about? But there's actually people who are on this earth who are just sitting there because, or just living because, well, that's where I'm at. This is where I am. When I pass, there might be or may not be another life, but hey, whatever, I'm here. Do I agree with that perspective? No, but I understand that it exists. And then there's also people who are here for the sake of, like, who are living life for the sake of being happy. Then poses the philosophical question. I'm not too sure again which philosopher really spent a lot of time. I can't remember off the top of my head. The pursuit of happiness. I'm sure someone can put it in the comments if you remember who is that philosopher that I'm trying to put out right now. But the pursuit of happiness, and kind of like this idea that that's the intrinsic human purpose, like to pursue happiness. I will not go too much further in that concept or idea, but if I must say my stance on it would more so be that yes and no. 100% yes, 50% no. But that's where I'm going to stop with that. I would say that the last thing that I could probably bring up to break this down would be there's some people who are doing it to survive, right? Because we're kind of programmed to be able to survive as a species. And so some people's inclinations are a little bit higher than others for the sake of probably their environmental influences or their genes, or that were probably influenced by their environment, and or genes that mutated to be able to live in that environment. So hey, all I have to say about that is that people who are living to survive often are willing to go at nothing to survive, because if you're living to survive, it means you don't disqualify anything that will inhibit you from surviving. I'll let you imagine what I mean by that. Oftentimes negative, not oftentimes positive, because when you're intrinsically just trying to do things for yourself, then you disregard other people. That means you would you'd be willing to do anything in order to maintain or secure that survival. Now, wait guys, we might have the opportunity to make this video short. I didn't yap too much today. I think we're like halfway there. We're doing it. So, what I think I'm living for is a very interesting question, because that is something that I am trying to break down as well. Because there needs to be a balance between me and the world. And I don't negate that you should live for yourself, but I also do negate the fact that you shouldn't live for other people. So those specific two topics, I will talk about it a little bit further in other videos, but it's just to say that I live for my purpose. I think that I live to find my purpose and sit in it, do what I am meant to bring to this world, and do my part as this individual in this world. So how am I contributing to the life that we live? That is what I'm going to say I live for. Previously, I think I was living a lot for my perception of myself, like how I wanted to see myself, and I still do at times, because I think it is important to be proud of who you are and where you're at. But I think also I was living for how people would perceive me, and how I wanted people to perceive me, and how I wanted people to look at me. And in some sense, that is very, very flawed and very, very wrong and very, very bad for me particularly, and actually inhibits me from sitting in my purpose, because I'm so hyper focused on other people. So again, I'll talk a little bit more about these in future videos. I think maybe the next video or two, but it was just to say that I think what I'm living for is to sit in my purpose. Now, if I should tell you why I even brought up this question, is because I think it's important to know what you're living for. Because when you don't know what you're living for, you tend to wander. You tend to allow yourself to be influenced by other people, allow other people to tell you that you're living your life the wrong way. And though I do think that other people's perspective are in some sense important, don't come for me when I say this, I will elaborate in future videos, please stay with me. But I do think also it's important to know what you like to do and what you think is important in this life. But it's a lot more complex than that. You need to be able to define what your purpose is and define what that means for you in regards to you with who you are. That for you to be able to do that, you need to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you can determine your values. You can determine like what you think is important and how you go about things and why you go about things that specific way. Because by doing so, by having these values, by understanding yourself, understanding all of these things combined, you're able to define what you're living for. If you don't know what you're living for, you don't know why you do the things that you do. And then if you don't know why you're doing the things that you do, then you can't find fulfillment in what you're doing. You're always going to be looking for the next thing or finding the flaws in what you're doing and thinking that what you've been doing is not enough, or that it's not working, or that it's somewhat always been wrong, or that you need to start over, or that, I don't know, it's more so like you spend a lot of time speculating. You spend a lot of time wandering. And I would definitely say that that's where I've been at for a really long time, because you don't know what you're living for, right? You don't know what yourself and your values align encompass, meaning by knowing what those two things are, you understand what you're living for. Now, is there a right way to live life? That's a question that I've definitely pondered on. I think I'm definitely trying to understand the idea of multiple different realities fitting one specific higher purpose or higher ground, as in multiple different pathways meaning the same thing, multiple different ways of expressions meaning the same thing. And that's kind of understanding the balance of like, okay, how does this difference still mean the same thing that we're trying to say or trying to achieve? What am I living for is a complex question that I want to try to answer without giving too much away about other things that I want to talk about in this channel. But it's, I would say in simple terms, is you as the individual in combination with your values, what you are trying to achieve. And when you don't know what you're living for, the culture, people talking, people's expectations can have a heavy place in your heart, a really large impact. And though what you are living for might not always be in the best for yourself or in the best of others, it's important to know what you're living for, to have a good sense of self. I think that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think that's what I'm understanding from this concept, is that it's important to know what you're living for so you have a better sense of yourself and what you're doing and why you're doing the things that you do. Because when you don't know the things that you do, you just do whatever comes your way because you don't really see its purpose, or you don't really understand what it actually means and how it will affect you and kind of things like that. So do I still think that people can live for the wrong things? Yes. In any of the things that I probably cited previously and others that I did not. So living for money could be good and could be bad. Just depends on how you look about it. Just depends on how you choose to approach it. Just depends on how you choose to value it. And I try to give both perspectives when I was talking about it. But then let's say when you're talking about helping others, yeah, surfacely it sounds honorable, but then why are you doing it for? Are you doing it for the validation of others? Which then at the end of the day, you're not doing it for the sake of others, you're doing it for the sake of validation. Or are you doing it to be able to receive some sort of reward at the end of the day? So, I mean, I guess again, that's still validation. Guys, I'm brainstorming with you here. So I think at the end of the day, it's really just how you choose to approach things. I'm gonna end this video here. I think ended up being pretty short and sweet, and which is the idea that I wanted. I think it doesn't need to be too long of just me talking and just me yapping. I would love like feedback, and one day have somebody sit here with me and talk with me, and we have a conversation about some of these topics, and the brainstorm of ideas, having a more concrete perception of what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to convey, the idea in itself, because it's really hard when you're trying to isolate ideas when you can see how it's connected to other ideas. And what I've been trying to do is isolate the one, and then with the help of somebody else, I'd be able to like break it down a little bit more. But for now, it's just more so like bringing up these topics, introducing ideas, and kind of like leading you up to what I'm working on and how I see life and what I've been applying for myself and my struggles and what I had to learn, just building you up to that. So it's a short and sweet video, or at least I tried to make it short and sweet. Doesn't seem too short. To close this video, I would just say that I think it is important to know what you're living for, and I think it allows you to be the best version of yourself. It allows you to achieve an ultimate purpose. It may not always be a good purpose, but it allows you to achieve an ultimate purpose and have a better sense of self by doing that. One less obstacle to tackle. And that is, I think, the first step to understanding the value that you bring. And though everyone is intrinsically valuable, there's a difference between intrinsic value and the value that you bring. And everyone has a value that they're meant to bring. It's just a matter of like understanding what it is. That will go back into my video a couple of videos from now about purpose. And anyways, I've talked enough. Thanks for listening to me. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on your post notifications. and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.